Newtonian Galactic Acceleration. Newtonian laws of motion govern the galactic acceleration, without necessitating exotic dark matter or dark energy. From my perspective as a mechanical engineer, the universe poses an intricately operating entity that precisely obeys the Newtonian first law of motion, stating that a body continues to remain at rest or moves in its straight line, unless compelled by some external force to move otherwise. This external force, for instance, could be a differential, dragging gravitational force, whose resultant magnitude decreases, as the distance between the center of mass of the lagging galaxies, and the center of mass of the observed galaxy increases, as the figure below exemplifies. The so-called dark matter could actually comprise, among others, known matter, like black holes, newborn stars that have yet to ignite and glow, galactic debris, dust, etc. If the initial event was an explosive Big Bang, then the matter was initially accelerated by a set explosive force. In such an event, there would be leading and lagging matters. Normally, the original location of the explosion has more mass than individual projectiles, spreading spatially in all directions. Therefore, as shown in the figure above, the greater amount of matter would lag behind the observed galaxy. Of course, there would be some matter ahead of the observed galaxy. The galactic acceleration could as such result from the galactic equilibrium. This gave rise to the initial inertial galactic distribution under the explosive or propulsive force, culminating in a constant velocity at time t0, when the gravitational drag on an observed galaxy was in equilibrium with the propulsive force plus the gravitational pull by the galaxy ahead, relative to the observed galaxy. However, as the distance between the lagging bulk of galaxies and the observed galaxy increases, the mutual gravitational force between them, and thus, the dragging force exerted by background galaxies decreases. Now, the observed galaxy experiences external force acting on it in the form of gradually decreasing dragging force. The initial equilibrium that gave rise to constant velocity is then offset in favor of the outbound resultant propelling force. As such, the gravitational, dragging force decreases, as the distance between the lagging galaxies and the observed galaxy increases. This then is the transient accelerating force. That is why the galaxies are accelerating the further away they move. As such, the gravitational formula Ft equals gmlg.mog finds application. Relo 2. Where Ft is the differential galactic dragging force, mlg acting total mass of all background galaxies behind the observed galaxy, mog mass of the observed, accelerating, galaxy. R low distance between the centers of masses of galaxies lagging in the background and the accelerating observed galaxy. The pulling force exerted by the galaxies ahead is much smaller compared to that of the background lagging galaxies. Therefore it is ignored for simplicity in this case. Other effects that reduce the magnitude of the galactic dragging force are events, such as supernova explosions, which reduce the magnitude of the dragging force when the matter is ejected backward and sideways, away from the proximity of the observed galaxy. The black holes swallowing stars and the debris that initially contributed to the mass, and thus, to the dragging force of the lagging galaxies, while moving backward or sideways, along their orbits, also contribute to the decrement of the galactic dragging force. Such disturbances ahead of the observed galaxy are negligible due to the less density of outbound galaxies. This concept can be visualized by considering the following thought experiment. Compare an observed, accelerating, galaxy with a body sliding down an inclined plane, with a gradually decreasing coefficient of friction. At time t0 the body slides at a constant velocity, with the initial propulsive force just offsetting the frictional force. If the surface of the inclined plane afterward exhibits a gradually decreasing coefficient of friction, the body will start accelerating at time t and gradually moves faster as the coefficient of friction approaches zero. This gradually decreasing coefficient of friction, and hence the frictional force, is comparable to the gradually decreasing gravitational force pulling the observed galaxy backward, as the distance between the background lagging galaxies and the observed galaxy increases according to the Newtonian law of gravitation. Thus, thought experiment proves that galaxies accelerate faster the further they move away from the observer. This would happen purely subject to Newtonian laws of motion, without necessitating any exotic dark matter or dark energy. Big Bang theory. The Big Bang event might have been just a black hole explosion, and hence multiple Big Bangs culminating in multiverses could prevail. In the larger space, the fact that the Methuselah star is only 200 light-years from the Milky Way galaxy whilst it is older than the universe corroborates the notion that the Big Bang might have been such an explosion or collision. This is further verified by the fact that many kinds of elements are found evenly distributed in our observable universe. Said black holes could be reminiscent of cooking pots for blending or mixing elemental ingredients, where nature produces multiple elements from different ingredient stars to be later served in dishes termed planets to facilitate the creation of flora and fauna. This could be how God created the universe and its contents. He did not just create flora and fauna in one setting, but rather prepared the processes and sequences in a finely choreographed manner. For instance, He created man and allowed man to also create things. Because He was to create man in His image, as the Creator, He reduced building materials to the size where man could handle them. For instance, He envisaged man building machines and buildings and tools. So the stars had to make the requisite elements like metals. Then God knew man would need to use plastics and consume them fuel for energy, so He let dinosaurs precede man and become extinct to form fossil fuels and petroleum. God creates serially, and in parallel. He creates one bit after another and choreographs events to facilitate the requisite platform for the next step. The Bible says that in the beginning was Word and the Word was with God. And Word was God, exemplifies this notion. The term word is synonymous with information, design, procedure, DNA, knowledge, data, etc. Even quantum entanglement is a word that underlines the entanglement of particles that are the building blocks of quantum entities. If one analyzes the events and sequences of nature, one sees a single source of engineering: the Almighty's entities, procedures, and events, finely synchronized and omnisciently executed.